live, I think. I don't know. I
No,
see things are happening.
I've just now clicked the start stream button.
Okay. Ah.
All right, so we've swapped to Miami, and it should be coming up.
Okay, I think we're up, or at least I see it like stuttering over there. Are we good? Are we good?
Looks like it's working. Cross your fingers, guys.
They'll just peer. Maybe they'll make eye contact with the servers, and they'll
freak out. It's always
that
good.
looked so amazing. Wait till it catches up.
I really am kind of confused whenever. No, the stream's. It's funny because like I'm watching the server crap itself. There we go. There's some eye contact. It's nice. I get to give myself eye contact. Then for some reason I don't get scared when I look at my own eyes. I mean I don't see what the problem is. It could be worse though because the same people who like if the stream is actually working will have a little bit of a delay for me to talk some shit here because I love to fill space by talking shit.
Sure are in chat. It stutters more than the average Eve player talking to real women.
Oh, wow. God. Yeah, so basically, like, I of course, the people who are saying that eye contact is bad are the same sort of people who don't actually like having their names typed out in a chat channel in Slack. And it's kind of like, okay, guys, I really have no idea why you have problems with that, but don't get confronted. Don't ever go outside and meet people in the real world. And for God's sakes, run from eye contact and be afraid of somebody saying your name. Like the meltdowns of these guys. It hasn't been so bad this week. I've been busy with other shit, but that's the shit talk discussion of the super shirking, afraid of eye contact, passive aggressive type. It's sort of like the opposite end of the spectrum for the horny white boy. Like there's the horny white boy lifestyle, and then over here there's, oh God, somebody typed my name out in a chat channel and might make eye contact with me. What do? All right.
Yeah, so the test alpha fleet guys, I'm not sure how much you heard before you got cut off, but basically they're running alpha fleet with afterburners to try, because the whole meta has kind of shifted to an afterburner meta anyways, because most people are, including the Imperium, Pandemic Legion, and they're all running Proteus fleets now. And the big thing about Proteus fleets is they're all going to have Scramblers on every single Proteus, which means if you're running MWDs, you get tackled and you're propless. So everyone's switching over to afterburners, and it's kind of just the whole way the meta shifting. Even in solo and small scale PvPs, it's afterburners online. But important fact test is being FC'd by Villy. Well, no, Villy. They have Villy, Elo, and ProGod, and they FC every once in a while. It's not like every single time.
Yeah, we actually get to see who is the FC at any given time, and from what I understand, that I think that Villy would not have lost an entire Alpha fleet because they lost the entire Alpha fleet like to a man, didn't they? And like Villy was always really good with Alpha fleet, so I don't really think that would have been the case there.
And I was talking to some test members, and what happened was, what happened was, the Proteus fleet was engaging with the Maelstroms, and then they dropped the Dreadnoughts, and instead of swapping over to kill the Black Dreads that were completely shredding them, they still continued fighting the Tech 3s. So, as an FC guys, if you're fighting a Tech 3 fleet with Maelstroms and then they drop Dreads on you, you have two options. You either have enough DPS and newts to kill the Dreads quickly, or you need to pull away from the Dreads outside of their optimal range. That's like, you can't really do much if you're trying to fight these Tech 3 Proteuses as well as close range Black Dreads. Like, you just have to just disengage at this point. If you look at the battle report, they don't have the ability to actually take this fight and win it. So they just get shredded, and I think they lost like 20 billion ISK worth of Maelstroms or something like that. Literally they lost every single Maelstrom on the field.
Ugh. Yeah, that's brutal. That's a difficult extraction. That's basically it in terms of nullsec news. Like, there've been a couple of big fights, which is great. I'm delighted to see big fights happening. It's politically, things are getting interesting because, you're seeing NC moving north. We have what I colloquially refer to as the Children's Crusade, which is a group of people who are attempting to storm the castle walls of the Imperium. So we're keeping an eye on that. That's one thing that we've been seeing that we haven't mentioned yet, is there's been a group of people which are basically like bitter exes of SMA, who are like really mad at SMA, like some guy from I1 Disc, and we've got a bunch of like Chaos Theory, which is like a schism from SMA. I've been really trying to go at SMA and attack Fade or Pure Blind with lots of continuous hacking attempts. And one of the more amusing things that we've implemented this last week or the last 7 days, we'll be talking about this at the Fireside Chat within the Imperium tomorrow, is something that it wasn't K-Color, it was Jay Amazingness dubbed the Night's Watch, which is instead of responding to hacking attacks by everybody running around like idiots and chasing hackers, we simply installed beacons through all of our territory. And we go, okay, somebody's hacking something. You have a designated Titan and a designated FC lined up in advance, and they're sort of on deck for guarding the wall. And that way, instead of our guys getting burned out, our skirmish commanders basically get an opportunity to instantly form up, get a big pile of dudes. Within 3 minutes, they're on a Titan, and instead of chasing hackers, they just whoop on top of them. And that's been really successful. And we just really started it like 4 days ago. And so that is, if you see people spamming pings for like Jackdaw fleets or Hurricane fleets with a young FC, that's something that you might want to get in on if you're in the Imperium, because it means you're going to get instant action, because basically that fleet is going to be dropped into combat inside of 3 minutes. And it's been a huge success so far. It means that it's less work for us and more local content. So that's it for NullSec. We've managed to actually get all the way to the halfway mark without a guest, which is excellent, just from the power of Laz and I running our mouths. Hungover mouths, as the case may be, which it's Valentine's Day. There's so many innuendos and places that you could go with that, and I'm just going to back away from that. Do we want to do some giveaways, Laz, or what are we doing?
I guess we can give some stuff out.
I guess we can. Maybe we can make it rain on the boys. I don't,
yeah. So guys, if you already type in chat, if you don't type in chat, you can't win anything, and you also can't win if you don't follow the stream. So make sure you click the follow button, type in chat, and we're going to give away 3 pirate rookie ships. And if you do end up winning, Asher says, Laz, call me on Skype. I will save this meta show.
Oh, God.
It doesn't matter to me. If we can bring Asher in, it's up to you.
Well, let's bring you in if we have time after all. Like, we actually have a ton of stuff in CCP Please, because there's a shitload of interesting meta and like game-changing related things that we need to discuss. Like, we're going to be talking about skill injectors. We're going to be talking about like the CSM stuff. There's a ton of CSM related crap that just went down this last week. People are spamming chat, which is good. If you don't follow us, you can't win anything, because if you can't bother following us, why would we give you anything? Because that's how we roll.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so like I said, if you win, make sure you message the Twitch channel, TheMittani.com Twitch channel, with your character name and which of the 4 pirate rookie ships you'd like to send to you. Please, please, please do that, and we're going to do the roll in just a minute. And I guess, Asher, what we'll do is we're going to talk about the CSM stuff, then I'll bring you in, and we can...
We'll talk about tier side.
Yeah,
exactly.
we can nerd out about the new module stuff.
This will be good. It'll be like the opposite of the show when we had Scion on or Thoric on, where instead of like having constant politics discussion, Laz being bored, like you guys can nerd out about like module changes, and I'll just be like, okay.
All right, hey, so doing the roll. First one is going to be Anna. Anna needs Stephanie. You've won. Make sure you message the channel with your in-game character name, which I'm pretty sure that is your in-game character name, and which of the 4 working ships you want. And then 0xef2387. You've won as well. And the third is going to be your Randus. Your Randus, one of our subscribers as well. Thank you so much, guys, for the support.
Excellent.
All right, so CCP, please.
Let's do it.
We're there.
We are there. Are we? Mm-hmm. We're here. We're officially.
We're done.
We're there. Okay.
In the zone.
Okay, so the biggest things that we've, in terms of like political stuff, is it's the CSM silly season. It has been the silly season for a while because of what we talked about on the past couple meta shows involving the CSM, involving what we call the no scions rule. And I'm only going to touch on this very briefly because to do otherwise would be unseemly. But we found out a couple days ago that the parties responsible for what we call the no scions rule are no longer managing the CSM. CCP Lulu has moved on to other areas in the company, and CCP Guard and Logibro will be taking over the CSM. Which is, whether that is good or bad, who knows? I'm not going to comment on that because that would be unseemly. It is a data point, and I don't want to be a jerk about it, basically. The good news is that if the CSM is turning over a new leaf in its management, we just got bribed singing Bust a Move OP. Okay, excellent.
Thank you, Young FC, for that.
We had the CSM Summit is beginning on Monday, which means that starting on Sunday, you're going to see, I think, only 6 delegates are going to this one. A lot of people who could have been attending this one apparently are not. In the past, they've flown more people out there.
And that's all that was left.
Yeah, and I think it wasn't even like all that was left. I think it was basically just like, Scion was invited to it, I think, and then didn't go. And I think that there's a lot of internal strife within the CSM, not even fighting each other, I guess I should say, strife between the CSM and CCP that resulted in this changing of the administration. So what we're hoping for is that on Monday when the CSM begins, presumably administered by CCP Guard and CCP Lodgebro, that this will be sort of like turning over a new leaf and making the best of a awkward situation that is now in the past. There's a lot to talk about usually. The one thing that's interesting about the new version of the CSM is they got a lot better about turning the minutes around more quickly. So hopefully instead of having to wait months when the CSM does their thing, starting on Monday, we'll be getting a steady stream of news about what was discussed that's not under NDA, and that'll be interesting. That is basically it in terms of like politics news, essentially. I mean, Guard is fantastic. He's a great GM. He's a great community member. Everybody knows him, loves him, has hung out with him at events. He has, I think he brings a lot of credibility to the table. Nobody would think that Guard is anything other than chill and cool because he's only ever been chill and cool. So I think that's great. Let's go ahead and bring Asher in, I guess, and we'll start talking about...
Quick shout out for that. Papa Suckin also gave us another 420. Another asterisk Arathorn, so I'm gonna say assume it's gonna be Love Arathorn because it is Valentine's weekend. Yeah, absolutely. Papa, that's really sweet, buddy. All right,
I love it.
Guys, we're gonna have some screen region issues in just a minute.
Shut up and take my money.
Oh God.
Pray for death. $3. Laz for CSM. Oh, Jesus Christ, no.
That's funny.
Never. I don't think I could deal with. I don't have enough vacation time to do that either.
That's the funny thing is that a lot of people who are like who think that who are sort of naive about how the CSM works. Laz for CSM again, it pops up here. People who are naive about how the CSM works, like they don't realize how much work it is and how like miserable it can be, especially when you're dealing with all the work that you're putting into it is getting sort of ignored or dismissed. So a lot of times when we are looking for the CSM roster for the Imperium, it's not who are the most capable candidates, it's who are the most capable candidates. We're very lucky in the ones that we have going this year, but a lot of people who would make fantastic CSMs are just not going to do it because they've got other shit to do, basically. I'm watching Laz struggle in a slight delay with the screen regions.
Right, we're fixed. We're fixed now. We're all good. Yeah, so I think Asher is also here as well. So guys, welcome Asher to the stream.
Hello.
I was having to slap myself on the cheek while Mittens droned on about CSM. Normally
so that you
Saturday afternoon nap, but
All right, that's not for you to take a nap, you guys. Because you want to talk about
now let's talk about warp disruptors. There's more range. It's so great.
Is it wait? I haven't actually. I saw the tier site changes. I haven't actually scrolled through the comments and stuff like that. But like, if you look, like they changed all the officer modules to be heavy warp disruptors and heavy warp scramblers. So like they're starting to. They mentioned this in Vegas where they're going to start rolling out capital specific modules, and pretty much anything officer wise it's going to be shifted into a capital only focus.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing because they added the capital scramblers now have 6 points of tackle, right? But everyone is guessing it's going to be like 20 to 50 like warp core stabs on like a Titan, right?
Right.
So you still won't be able to tackle a Titan with another Titan with an officer scram. But that officer...
Well, it might lead solo PvP.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it'll be nice. I guess it'd be nice if you're trying to point someone in faction warfare with your officer scram. You won't be able to warp away, but the big change is that stasis grappler for battleships and capitals.
Well, that's a pretty big thing. There's a lot of people mad about that. I did read through some of the scroll before the comments about that.
Why are people mad about that? I mean, that's doesn't make...
I mean, I'm not sure, honestly, because the people think it's going to be, I guess, too overpowered when it comes to like frigates and stuff. Because right now, the entire meta of EVE Online is a frigate-dominated meta when it comes to like small scale and larger scale stuff like that. And I think the small scale guys are worried that their frigates aren't going to be able to solo battleships anymore. Like the
grapplers scale based upon range. So as long as you're not like orbiting something at 500, like you're not going to.
Right, but that was the combination for hitting a battleship, was you got at 500, and even if it had
you get under their guns, right?
You would still be under the guns. Right, but if it has like an 86% web, which is what it has at that very short range, it's like a Vindicator. It has a good chance of actually applying damage to you.
Right. Because that web slows you down so much. They throw the web on you, and then they align away from you. And because you're so slowed and you're moving away from them, then you have perfect tracking with that battleship.
At first, I thought I didn't like it at first, but it's actually a pretty elegant solution to the problem. It's like having a Vindicator web for only very short range, and then after that, it's like a really weak web, but with a lot of fall off. It's kind of, a lot of people don't realize this would be webbing people for a small amount out to like 22, 23 kilometers.
Yeah, 23 kilometers is what the graph shows. 23.
Miss Scooby is saying here that if you can, on the grappler, you can overheat its optimal to 4 kilometers. So if you're in a situation where a frigate is actually on top of you, that with overheat, which you would obviously be using in that case, is probably enough to tie it down and fuck it to death, especially if you've got a heavy newt as well. So that's going to be hilarious.
Well, and Anna says in chat, grappler web on a bonus ship will be interesting. That's the one thing about the grappler web. It gets no bonuses. None of the web bonuses apply to the heavy grappler web. So your Balgorns, your Vindicators, your Rapiers, Hugins, blah, blah, blah. None of those bonuses actually apply to this web. And I went ahead and posted the link into chat, and you can see the graph that they posted with the thread. So the heavy grappler it's going to bring turret battleships in a small scale meta up to par when it comes to the actually being able to tackle and not get kited, because right now all the small scale and low sec stuff is putting something like a point on them and keeping out of their range. But with a 23 kilometer scram, at least those battleships should be able to cover not scram but rather web. You can cover the distance a little bit easier.
The problem with battleships right now for the sort of the low sec or the roaming small gang lifestyle is that you lose all your agency in controlling your actions, because if someone spots you, they don't have to engage you. They just kind of follow you around for, however long it takes to call in 10 of their buddies. And you can't get away from someone once they're, right next to you. So that's really more the problem, because you warp so slow, you align so slow. So it's just like a little interceptor, just not doing anything. And then, but when he keeps following you, uh-oh, in a minute or two, 10 of his buddies are going to show up and I have no shot. And that's not a fun feeling if you're a solo roamer. But I don't think there's something CCP can really do about that other than increase battleship warp speed. Please do that. Make them go 3 AU. Please, CCP.
Well, there's a reason why everybody uses Macarials at this point.
Yeah.
Well, the warp speed buff is huge.
Oh, yeah.
But the interesting thing, though, like in the fleet meta, if all the battleships start rolling around with heavy grapplers, it's like right now you see like Proteus fleets and stuff like that. The optimal range of a Proteus railgun isn't that long, so if they have to get within optimal range for antimatter stuff like that, and if you're using tracking disruptors to lower that range, then the heavy grapplers actually might be pretty effective in holding down and let battleships slaughter Tech 3s even easier.
Laz,
most of the
go ahead.
I was going to say that most of the time that you're actually countering a T3 fleet with battleships in the current circumstances, you're already going to be using usually Max, right? And they'll always be having things like Geddons or Vindis with them or Balgorns, such that usually something that's within range, those T3 meta ships are going to end up webbed to hell and back anyway already. Like, we had our fitting team analyze the grapplers, and while they're interesting, they're not the kind of things that Namamai and that crew think will be immediately useful. But one thing that we do know from these tier side changes that they're talking about, like the changes to damage controls, a little bit of a segue here, are going to have a massive impact, because suddenly we're going from a stock 0% resistance on hull to all of a sudden a 33% hull resistance across the board structure for every ship in the game, which has massive impact on suicide ganking and things that are taking place in high sec. So that's going to be a thing.
Well, there were a lot of fits that sort of you nominally had to use the damage control, but it was right on the edge of being required. That now you can drop that off, put in overdrive, put in nano, all kinds of options you didn't have before, because you're not compromising so much, especially on smaller ships like frigates and destroyers, where the damage control is good, but it doesn't really give you a ton of HP. You can say, oh, I don't need that anymore. I can put something else on, and it'll be a big change. I think it's a positive overall. I'm going to miss turning it on though.
Yeah, I agree. Like being able to look at fits and not constantly go, oh, hey, every single ship in the game as a low slot always has a damage control, which is what it is and has been for years. So that's good.
Yeah, I mean, on one side, it's good when it comes to like shield and kiting and stuff like that, because you'll be able to fit that extra speed module, or you can fit an extra damage module or something like that. But probably the biggest thing with the damage controls is they're coming out with faction damage controls. So you have your Shadow Serpentis, Syndicate, and like all those things you're used to seeing with modules inside Eve. but they're getting a bigger boost, which means they're going to be more effective overall. So like this Shadow Serpentis, you're going to get 16.5% resist bonus for armor, and then 14 for shields. And I think right now it's 14 or 15 is max.
Hey Laz, do you have
certainly.
do you have your Gator boots on and your Fendi belt right now? Are you wearing them?
No.
See, I'm pretty excited because they're going to come out with officer damage controls for Titans, well, for everything. So now my Titan can be 100% officer, and I can be dressed Fendi, Prada, head to toe. Looks ridiculous.
But do you have a Michael Kors purse? That's the really important thing.
This will be what it all ties it together with the Michael Kors damage control.
Wow.
Okay.
Les, do you think they're I don't know if intentionally so, but do you think CCP is trying to push people away from kiting? A big change we had recently, and something I did not really notice until I saw it in the field, was those interdictors with the 35 kilometer, 39 kilometer scrams. As soon as they land on you, they warp in on you. You have to be so far away from them, or else they'll just get your FC, your Logi Anchor, and like an important ship, and then you're stuck there.
It's ridiculous because you have the Fendi webs, you have the new heavy stasis grapplers, you have the Hick scrams, which the faction Hick scram gives out 39 kilometers.
It's insane. And it only has to grab you for 1 or 2 cycles. It can cycle off, but then their secondary tackle has you locked down. It makes kiting a lot harder. You're gonna have to go even faster to kite effectively. And then go ahead.
Well, no, you're absolutely right. And then, in fleet combat as well, if you have a few of those just sitting there waiting for anything to go within range, and then if you combine that with Armageddon newts and stuff like that, literally you can shut down an anchor instantly. It's crazy.
This is sort of a nuanced change, but they announced, and we already thought this was going to happen. But for the Citadels, the webs, the scrams, all that stuff is going to be on board, meaning that you'll have you can't blow up the module like you could on a POS. So if you were a kiting doctrine, you could just come to the POS, kill the web, and then you were free to go around at full speed around the POS, even though it had all the guns and all that kind of stuff. But now that won't happen until the actual structure dies.
Oh my God, Shirar here will donate $100 for a photo of Laz in red lipstick holding a card saying, "Won't you be my Valentine?" That would be fantastic. I'd like to see that.
If I had lipstick, I'd do it.
Totally. Why don't you have lipstick? Well, I mean, another
well, let me tell you.
One of the other things that really struck me though is curious is smashing together ECCM and sensor boosters. That is huge. Almost so many ships use sensor boosters as it stands, and just having ECCM completely merged into that, and that if you find yourself getting jammed or you need to, you can swap your sensor booster out to use an ECCM script, then it's just as good as if you had fit a full ECCM module. So we ran the math on it, and it makes no impact on Sneaky Pete doctrine. So essentially you'll have Tengus running around with 5 sensor boosters, right. But 2 of them will be range scripted and 3 of them will be ECCM scripted. But I think that it's going to make probably have some implications, and Laz and Asher can talk about this more, but from what little I understand about EVE Online, because I never log in and never play, but I think that there are some significant implications for FC ships in particular.
It's better. I mean,
it's much better. You get a huge buff. You don't have to worry about getting jammed. That's it.
Mittens, if EVE has a stock market, you should have our finance guy buy stock in armor ships, because they're pushing into Brawl, and almost armor ships carry a SIBO. So that means that all the doctrines that had a SIBO before now have a SIBO and ECM resistance.
If only we were researching possibly having a major new armor-based doctrine.
Don't tell them, Mittens.
I'm not telling anybody anything. I might be announcing it at the fire. If you are a member of the Imperium and you happen to deign to grace us with your presence at our fireside chat tomorrow, we might be talking about this a little bit more. And we're talking to allies today and making sure that everybody knows what's going on. But we have a big announcement, which will be fun. And
someone on my comms recently said Mittens leaked something, and I said, if Mittens said it, it's no longer a leak.
I leaked something.
Yeah, it's out there.
Someone banned that guy leaking loom.
I'd have to file out some forms in triplicate to report my failure to Scion, who, as we know, is the real leader, as I am just a horny white boy figurehead of the Imperium.
It changes. It changes quite a bit, because I think at one point it was myself and Gossamer that were leading, and
that's true.
Now it's Scion. Next week's gonna be Asher.
Yeah, probably.
And
then it can't be me. I mean, I'm a twerp.
Someone recently asked me if I was number 2 in the Imperium. I had a good chuckle about that. So, yeah.
And you're getting
a few more zeros at the end. A few more zeros at the end, and we're getting there.
No, but all when we were talking about earlier, when we were talking about the capital changes and CCP mentioning that you can't combat refit. Like if you have weapons timer, you can't refit. And what CCP is doing to kind of alleviate when it comes to player skill and be able to recognize when they should use different fittings and stuff like that, they're switching to the script system. And if you look at the fax machine and Capital dev blog that they put out this week, they're actually adding a new armor module where it's a scripted armor module where you can either leave it unscripted for omni resistances with that module, or you can put a script in it to have a dedicated resistance. So they're trying to appease people to where they're saying, well, what if I'm in my triage carrier and this is actually a pretty big deal, honestly, because a good triage pilot can stay alive for 3 to 4 times longer than a shit triage pilot. So they can swap out their resistances in and out as needed, which is good, but it still doesn't stop the fact that when you're not getting shot in triage, you refit for capacitor. So it's good and bad, and it provides a lot of different options when it comes to fleet setups. If you can just instead of having to fit seven armor hardeners inside your cargo for your fleet line battleship, you carry like 6 different scripts. Like it's actually pretty interesting.
That's going to be a capital only module, right, Les?
It didn't say capital only.
Oh, interesting. So that'll be a thing that you can. I didn't know that.
What do you guys, speaking of capitals, and what do you guys think about we're seeing some questions about this in chat, or they're getting mission releases. What do you guys think about the fax machines?
I'm still in the fence, man.
You can say what you think here. You're not gonna are you gonna get in trouble if you say that you don't like them or you're unhappy with them, or
I'm not sure yet, because I mean, like it's like I'm more worried as like a Titan and Super Capital pilot because of how strong dreadnoughts are going to be. Because like with everything shifting to reps on this one type of ship, if you're running around and doing stuff with capitals, and if you don't have enough of these ships, they just like right now in modern day capital warfare, you can hide triage carriers and stuff inside your fleet. So if you have like 100 Archons, you can
nobody knows who's in triage and who isn't unless they get really lucky. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so you have to have all your settings turned on so you can look and see which ones are doing it and blah blah blah. But with these new fax machines, you instantly know, which ships are going to be repping, so you can instantly wipe them off the field. So I think it does take some of that off the field.
Shut up and take my money.
Well, one of the other things that was pointed out in chat here is they're already talking about having a new special type of damage control module. So here we have an era where we're looking at the rise of the dreadnought, right? Dreadnoughts are cheap, they're insurable. You know that reps are going to be less of a thing in the first place, so trying to keep everybody alive seems to be less valuable than just throwing insurable damage at everybody in the form of, I will crush the fax machine with a bat like an office space. Thank you, Shirar. And play rap music in the background while you're doing it. The interesting thing here is that there's a damage control module that you can basically press a button on and temporarily raise your structure resist to 99%. So on the one hand, reps in general are more dangerous or harder to get because fax machines will be volleyed off the field first in any kind of cap fight. Dreads are getting boosted because just the situation here means that dreads are going to be favored in the first place. And the question that I think we have to ask ourselves is if this special type of damage control module is something that will work well for dreadnoughts, that possibly becomes a huge nerf to doomsdays, right? So if Titans are unable to doomsday volley dreadnoughts because of the ability to temporarily boost your structure resistance to 99% due to this new damage control module, then that's even less incentive for people to be using Titans instead of just dreads. Right. Yeah, I don't really know about the mechanics of that module because I've only recently looked into it like in the last day or two that this came out. But
Mins, you just said recently that you missed sort of the bloodier sort of style of warfare that we used to have, right? So you probably like this sort of more...
In general, I like caps. I do like this. I mean, it's kind of a funny thing. Like, it's tough because the challenge that CCP has had for many years is cleaning up from the mistakes of the introduction of supercarriers and Titans in the first place. I've never liked supercarriers and Titans. They have usually been dumb and bad. Now, over many, many years, they became less dumb and bad, and Titans now actually have a reasonable place in the game. They're not horribly expensive. I think that they should probably be less expensive and let them dock, right, like in Citadels, like they're planning on doing. Get rid of the E-War immunity, blah, blah, blah. So basically make it less of a problematic ship to create. But failing removing them from the game entirely, if we have these things that are relatively balanced right now, the concern then is your in-game players are all after Titans, right? And CCP wants to maintain their player base, which means maintaining their in-game players. So if the Titan is the apex, how do you make sure that the Titan is not going to be completely overpowered, which we have had for most of the history of EVE Online. Titans have been overpowered and stupid and a bad game design decision, and this has just been rammed in their faces over and over and over and over again. And finally, we got to a good place. But if we get to a point where, like, Titans, if people can just say, oh, a Titan has a Doomsday, but boop, I press a button and I don't have to worry about that anymore and I'm a Dreadnought, then you combine that and you have the Rise of the Dreadnought. I do love big Dread battles. Some of the best fights in EVE Online have been huge Dread battles. In the Halloween War, before BR5, it was a damn shame because the servers shat the bed in that one fight where, like, us and the Russians combined lost like 700 Dreadnoughts. But there's just so many Dreads in this big, massive...
RIP Omega Fleet.
Yeah,
Rip.
and that was great. So one of the things, actually, the Omega Fleet idea is fascinating to me because now I think we're going to begin to see strategic use of skill injectors to respond at a block level to CCP balance changes. So if these changes go in and you do see the rise of the Dreadnought, it will be a very rapid rise because it is not going to be a situation where people would say, hey guys, we need to change all of this stuff and we're going to wait for people to train. It'll just be like, we're doing a mega fleet, everybody's in an Naglfar, we're using RD doctrines with it, and if you don't have the skill points, go buy them and inject them and be ready tomorrow.
You'll like this, Mittens. I was in a fight and I was flying a Hictor, and I just trained to Hictor 1. And I had a 28-kilometer scram. The guy broke my scram range, but didn't turn his prop on. I injected skills, trained to Hictor 4, and repointed him.
Mid-fight?
Mid-fight. Same guy. He was like 32 kilometers away, and my range was 33 at that point. Repointed him.
Were you just carrying around like a skill injector?
Yeah, I had in my assets. I just searched assets and injected. Because you can inject them anywhere.
You had a stockpile.
Yeah.
Like Cheetah, and you're like, I need to know. It's like, so... Randomly, I happened to rewatch The Matrix last night with a friend of mine. I haven't watched The Matrix in like 16 years or something like that. And that's basically just like a skill, like literally like, I know Kung Fu, or I have a 32-kilometer point. And there you go. That's great. You're like, I need to know this now. Okay.
Exactly like that, yep.
Yeah, I'm actually streaming tomorrow, me lobotomizing one of my characters.
That's excellent. Yeah, no, it's interesting because, like, the fact that they can be used remotely. I've yet to use one myself, but for people who are wealthy and lazy, like me, it's great because it'll be like, oh, this character who I have forgotten to bother to turn skill training on, I need him to be able to fly a perfect Jackdaw, and you just jam it into your head, and then there you go. Buy the skill points off Jita. In general, kind of like with skins, I love skill injectors. I love anything that makes CCP money in a reasonable way, providing a good product or service to the player base, because we want EVE Online to continue and for CCP to be healthy. So skill injectors, there was a question that we had in the meta show and within the community as a whole, I guess, of EVE, looking at all of this going, are people going to buy these things? Is this going to go anywhere? Are people going to look at this and go, screw this? And the answer thus far has been, holy crap, skill injectors are awesome. And people are just mainlining them as hard. It's basically a skill heroin, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, like, people are still upset about it and they don't want pay to win, stuff like that. And in EVE, there's no such thing as pay to win because you can have 500 million skill points and you can still be the worst pilot in the fucking game because EVE is a complicated game. It takes a lot of stuff to actually be decent at it when it comes to PvP. So it's not really pay to win. I like it, and with the diminishing returns, it means that people aren't going to keep pumping up their skill points. You get to a certain level at a relatively cheap cost, and then it doesn't really make sense to do it anymore.
Laz, I know we're short on time here, but what is it about FCing that makes you a terrible line member after a while? You were on my fleet the other day. You couldn't align to anything I broadcasted, but I do the same thing. I am the worst line member when I go in someone else's fleet. I'm doing something else. They're warping away. I'm pointing the wrong direction.
Well, you're used to, like, as an FC, you're used to just doing everything yourself and having to be completely zoned in and focus and calling all the shots. And then when you don't have that responsibility, then you're just sitting like,
I'm tabbed browsing something else. Yeah, exactly.
I was like watching Netflix, pretty much.
Exactly. I was just talking to my stream the entire time. Because I couldn't really shoot anything because the ship I was in wasn't the same fit as everyone else. So I was just sitting there waiting for ships to get within 60 kilometers. And so I killed like 6 or 7 frigates and stuff that were burning at us. So
Laz, I didn't have a target painter on that fleet, and I was lamenting it. And I found out afterwards that you were the only ship in my fleet that had a target painter, but you weren't shooting the primary because you couldn't lock him.
Yeah, so I was target painting frigs and stuff and zonking them with my rapid heavies. It was good stuff. All right, but it looks like we're actually running down on time. Thanks for coming on and talking about it. Also, to clarify earlier, I was talking about the scriptable armor hardeners and shield hardeners. That actually is capitals. I went and double checked it. I didn't tell you guys the wrong thing. So it is only capitals. But it would be really cool to see for mainline ships.
I think that's going to be
pretty cool.
Like last 2 minutes here, something that we were talking about earlier before we brought Asher on that we didn't really hit now is probably one of the biggest changes is the weapons timer for combat refitting. And that's you will not be able to do combat refitting while you have a weapons timer on, which massively impacts a lot of elite PvP groups, which rely on having a Nestor or carrier around to be able, like basically anybody who uses Macarials or rattlesnakes or things like that in fights, being able to just use the cargo hold to on the fly hard counter whatever they're fighting in a fight. That is going away, and we know that that's controversial because we've just been watching people scream about it on the forums and giggling because we're assholes and we think it's hilarious. But that's going to be a pretty big meta change, I think, all the way around.
Yeah, I think they actually, like, CCP seems to be moving in the right direction when it comes to module changes, tier side, stuff like that. I for one am happy that it seems like they're moving towards more brawly ships instead of kiting, because I hate kiting.
Kiting is lame. It's just lame.
How dare you? How dare you guys say that? I hate brawling.
I know.
Kiting is man mode.
That's because you don't like taking damage. Like, you just like kiting around the edge.
No losses.
Exactly. Like I want if I go into a fight, like the best fights in the EVA line is like 200 versus 200. And
everybody just smashing.
Basically, the old remote rep battleships and the old Dread versus Dread fights. That is like the optimal EVA line in my experience.
Yeah.
Like everyone goes in and only.
All right, grandpas.
I'm just hanging up on them. So, guys, Asher's no longer in the call.
I can cut his mic. Cut his mic. That's amazing. You're completely Bill O'Reilly. That's amazing.
It's 5 o'clock, guys. Coming up next is the boat show. God damn it, Asher. So, guys, we'll see you next Saturday. Coming up is the boat. Love you guys. See you later. God damn it.
You are about to receive messages that may be harmful to your mental state. Your sense of reality will be questioned. Your view on things will be altered. You are now part of the meta. The meta